What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Bull Season 6, Episode 10, Frontotemporal. This one was pretty predictable all around. It wasn't bad. I kind of knew where every piece was going to go and every move that was going to be made, and yeah, pretty straightforward. Honestly, I thought maybe they would do something a little different or a little deeper, something to just mix it up a little bit, but no, it was all exactly like I expected it to be. The title of the episode, you see that whenever it starts, so I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be something related to she was having brain issues. So to find out it was cancer, okay, that's kind of interesting. But from that point on, I predicted everything that was going to happen. I'm thinking, okay, well, they're going to argue that this tumor did it. The jury's still going to be like, well, how are we going to trust that she's not going to do it again? Even if she starts taking the anti-inflammatory medicine to lessen it, how do we know it won't do it again? There's still going to be a chance. So, of course, it's going to come down to, well, you got to make a decision. Do you want to remove the tumor? Of course, she's going to do it. And of course, she's going to be okay. Yeah, she's going to lose some of her mobility in her right leg. That's it. That's the only downside in this whole episode. Everything else works out perfectly fine. Her daughter has this moment where she gets to reconnect with her. They have a moment where Bull is clearly in contempt of court. The judge is basically telling him, shut up and sit down. The daughter should not be able to just stand up and shout. There's no punishment for all of that. The doctor gives the daughter the answer she needs. There's this nice, sweet moment. And the judge just sits there like, well, I guess I can't do anything about this. It's not like this is my courtroom or anything. It's just really dumb. And then on top of that, you look on everything outside. You've got, what Taylor's going through with her ex, which I kind of had the sense, again, the moment whenever she initially cut off this little fling that they were having, there was something in his delivery that just made me think he's got a bit of an ego and he's going to do what he wants to do. So whenever he took their son on this trip, I kind of had a feeling that something was going to come of that. There was going to be something that goes wrong with it. So to find out he wants to just move his son out there, not too surprising in my opinion. But everything to do with this title person, I didn't like how all of that started anyway, because it felt kind of stupid from Taylor's point of view. So to find out that the FBI is trying to use this against her, and then on top of that, apparently they're now in league with her ex-husband, who's now going to use this information in their next custody hearing. I'm just sitting here going, I'm sorry, what? He had her followed? He had a private investigator follow her to the point where he's like, okay, well, she's going to be working with this hacker. I'm going to stick the FBI on them. What? I mean, I knew he was going to be a piece of shit, but to be this diabolical about it, I don't know. It's this extra level that is elevating this story into a level of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like this extra level of tension that there doesn't need to be. There could be a custody hearing. I have no problem with that. And I have no problem if you wanted to use the job, how much she's been attacked, how many times she's had to call him and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't make it home. Can you watch him? That would be fine. If they wanted to use that and then she's trying to figure out, do I devote all of my time to TAC? Do I maybe step back from TAC? What do I do because I want to keep my son? That would be a more interesting dilemma. To throw this on top of it just feels unnecessary and not at all realistic. And I don't know, it adds, just like I said, a level of, I don't know the correct term, but unrealism is what's coming to mind right now because I'm tired. But that's what I feel about it. This does not feel like a realistic story. A parent basically trying to take custody of their child away from the other one because that parent is working all the time. That's realistic. That's something that I feel like your audience can really connect to and get emotionally invested in. Having a custody hearing where one parent is being investigated by the FBI because she's been working with a hacker, that feels stupid. And it feels unrealistic. The fact that the other parent would even know about all of that. So I'm not a fan of this story. I feel like it's just going to lead to this long drawn out case and trial and all of that. And I'm just not looking forward to it. And I can tell Eric's going to be a big douche in all of it, and he's going to be annoying and be like, oh, I'm going to get my way because I want our son. And in the end, Taylor's probably going to win custody of him because, she's a good person, supposedly. So all that felt kind of dumb. And then the stuff with Marissa, I mean, again, very predictable, but it almost felt like we repeated some of the beats from last episode where Bull goes through the entire episode kind of in denial. And last episode, it was more so in denial about what Marissa needs. And this one is more so in denial about, oh, we can move on without her. We can solve this problem. It's no problem. And then at the end of it, there's this big emotional moment where he offers her whatever she needs, and she turns him down. And that's exactly what happened in both of these episodes. And I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, there's no way we're going to sit here through this entire episode. He finds somebody to replace Marissa, and then he goes over and tells her, hey, I don't want him. I want you. And she just says, oh, okay, take me. Like, that would be stupid. It would be stupid on the level that I don't even think the dumbest writers in the world would make that mistake. So I don't understand why there was this, why that happened. It just feels weird to me. And the thing is, I mean, she even said it. She's like, I'm happy here. That's basically what the story is going to be. It's going to be, she's going to stay at this place because she loves it. She has her name on the business. She loves being there. It's going to take a case that they take on that she's going to hate taking on because, of course, this guy seems like a totally nice guy. Seems like he's totally on board with just accepting help from other people. So I'm sure there's going to be a point where we find out he's secretly an asshole. There's going to be some case he's like, oh, but I mean, they're going to pay us money to do this. So why do we care if they are evil people? Like there's going to be something like that that's going to make Marissa realize, wait, I was doing more help at TAC than what I'm doing here. Here I'm helping people get away with bad things. And honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's a case where Bull and his team are representing the good people and Marissa and her team are representing the bad people. And that's when she realized, wait, I'm doing awful stuff over here. So, and that's just what I expect to happen. We'll see if that's what they do. If they do, then it's predictable as hell. And these writers clearly, they understand the basics of writing, and that's about as deep as it goes for them. If that's not what they do, then good for them. They thought outside of the box a little bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens next. But that's about it for this episode. On to the next one. I'll see you there in a minute. And now episode 11, Family Matters. So remember that thing I was talking about earlier this season where there was a story with a lot of potential and they just sort of rushed through it and sort of canceled out any potential for that story becoming interesting and maybe playing out a little bit longer? I guess they just like doing that this season because this is the third time that this has happened. You had the story with Bull's kid getting kidnapped. You had the story with Bull being framed for bribery. And now you got these two stories actually with Taylor going up against Eric for custody of Maurizio and Marissa leaving the firm and working for another one. Two stories that could have had legs. Now, obviously, I did say the whole Taylor and Eric thing was kind of already a little annoying, so I'm glad that one didn't last too much longer. But I still feel like there could have been something there, maybe finding out something about Eric that maybe made the story a little bit more interesting. For Marissa, we didn't even see him hire somebody. They had a guy at the end of last episode. I'm thinking, okay, so maybe he'll join the team for a few episodes until they realize he's not Marissa. He wasn't even in this episode. He was just gone. Apparently, Bull said, yeah, we're going to hire him. And then he went to talk to Marissa and be like, hey, come back. She said no. He's like, all right, you're fired. What? What? That poor guy. You were brought in, seemingly made a member of the team. And I mean, I'm sure he knew whenever he was hired as an actor that it wasn't going to be a multi-episode thing. But still, like you're going to be known as that character in Bull that was supposed to replace Marissa at the end of one episode, and then the next one was just gone, disappeared. But yeah, Marissa's back at TAC now. And what's funny is I talked about how this could be an interesting story if they didn't just go by the book and do the whole Marissa's firm represents somebody awful and she realizes that at TAC she was doing better work. I talked about that, and they didn't do that. They did switch it up. They made TAC represent the bad guys. Marissa and her firm were representing the good guys, but they still did basically the whole moral of the story that I was talking about, which is what she's doing is not as important as what they're doing at TAC. And a lot of that just comes down to the Bradley guy is not, he's not a good person deep down. And it was so easy for her to realize that just out of nowhere. Like he seemed like he was a decent guy. He seemed like he was a good lawyer as well. And they were building him up like he was going to be maybe a possible even romantic interest for Marissa. They were building this whole thing up, and I figured at some point the other shoe would drop and we would find out he's kind of a piece of shit. So the fact that it wasn't even that long, again, we've known him for 3 episodes, maybe, and in the entirety of all 3 episodes, perfectly upstanding human being, doesn't seem like he has a real malice to him. And then at the end of this episode, oh no, I wouldn't have given you that. I would have just buried it. Well, but it's part of Discovery. I don't care. We want to win. Just all of a sudden, a total asshole out of absolutely nowhere. Even his conversation where he went to the dinner instead of helping Marissa, it didn't feel like I don't care about that. I don't care about this guy. It was more so in his mind, he's running a business. He needs to think about their finances. That's what Marissa was doing when she was attacked. She was worried about the finances. So yes, not helping this guy maybe is a little bit of an asshole, but he's also making a very good point. They need money to run this business. And that dinner was going to be a big thing for them. So I don't know, even in that scene, he didn't seem like an asshole. It wasn't until the very end of the episode, whenever they needed Marissa to go back to TAC, all of a sudden he's like, oh, I wouldn't have given you that document to help you win the case. I would have just buried it and acted like I never found it. Okay, so now all of a sudden he's an asshole, and now Marissa can feel better about coming back to TAC and all of that. It's so stupid, it's so rushed, and it's lazy writing is what it is. They needed these stories to wrap up in this episode. I think, looking at the dates, this one aired in January 2022. The next one was February 25th, 2022. So I'm thinking this is probably, and this is also halfway through the season, 11 out of 22 episodes. So I'm guessing this was the mid-season finale. So they just wanted to wrap everything up in this episode. Why though? Why not have, maybe Marissa has been wrestling with the idea of, does she want to stay with her own business? Does she want to go back to TAC? Maybe you kind of have her wrestling back and forth a little bit, but there's not really been that. It's just been at the end of one episode, she realizes this is what I want to do. The end of the next episode, she's like, no, I'm staying. I'm happy. The end of the third episode, all right, never mind. I'm coming back to TAC. This is home. Do you understand my frustration? Do you understand the frustration of, this was 3 episodes. This was 3 episodes that you had this story that could have had potential to be interesting. Honestly, I thought this battle between Marissa's firm and TAC, I thought it was going to be a lot further out. Like a few episodes, maybe we get to see her firm run in some cases. Maybe we see her wrestling with some issues. Maybe she's, I don't know, dealing with her own personal problems. Maybe she doesn't feel comfortable being in the courtroom because she's used to being behind the computer, but she's kind of learning to do that with this new guy that she's working with. Give us something there. And she's wrestling, but she's like, no, but this is what I want to do. This makes me happy. Have that real struggle. Not just okay, well, 2 episodes, she said she doesn't want to go back to TAC, and then by the end of the 3rd one, she does. We're done. It's so stupid. Also, the stuff with Taylor and Eric, I know what they're going for. Again, the whole her being too busy, her working too much to be there for Maurizio, it was brought up. That did seem to be the main focus of this episode, at least. It didn't focus on the whole FBI thing, which I thought was kind of ridiculous that Eric found out about that. But anyways, the one thing I will say, though, that I feel like they had this moment to really amplify the tension for Taylor is the whole thing where they're talking about do you feel safe at your work? Do you feel like Maurizio's safe because of your job? I feel like both of those questions can be answered really quickly. Because first of all, the kidnapping had nothing to do with TAC. She said that. Like, oh, but TAC worked it. It doesn't matter. Bull's child was kidnapped because of a previous patient he had before he was working at TAC. So that had nothing to do with TAC. She told Eric that Maurizio didn't feel safe. It wasn't because, oh, I'm working at TAC and somebody could come after me because of TAC. No, it was Bull's kid was just kidnapped. Our child is also capable of being kidnapped. It's kind of one of those, if you see like a school shooting, I realize that's a very dark place to go to, but you see that on the news and you have a kid that's in school, you're going to be concerned about that. Not because of anything related to you, not because it's your kid's school, but it happened somewhere. Some kids were in danger. You're going to be worried about your own kid. And I feel like that should have been the answer, but instead it was like, well, no, I guess I was worried because of my job. And it was like the answers were there. The answers to me were obvious, but they didn't give her those answers because they wanted it to go toward Eric. They wanted to have this big emotional scene where Taylor didn't win the case, so that way Bull could step in and save the day. And I feel like that's just, it's lazy again. It's, you want to manipulate the audience's emotions and basically make Taylor make stupid decisions so that way Eric can win, only to flip it around and be like, plot twist, Eric's going to actually be a good guy in the scene. And I don't know. I feel like it's pure emotional manipulation is what it is. It really comes down to just that. The writing team wanted to tug at your heartstrings, so they wanted to have a bad ending, but not really tricked you. We're going to have a good ending. That's not satisfying. Like that scene where Eric shows up and tells Taylor, first of all, I predicted it. I knew she was going to end up with Maurizio because of course she is, but it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like, oh, a guy like Eric just instantly have his mind changed. Maybe sometimes it'll happen. It still doesn't feel realistic. This feels like a writing ploy where, oh no, poor Taylor, she lost. But she didn't lose. She gets him in the end. It's stupid. It's stupid cookie cutter, just bare bones writing. And I'm so frustrated with it. I'm so frustrated because, again, if this were the first time this season where we had stories that wrapped up too nicely and too easily, I would be like, okay, well, that was dumb. But this is, again, the third time. The third time that we're seeing this, where stories that could have had potential to have some consequences, could have had potential to really hit hard, anything like that. You could have had anything bad happen in this episode. Nothing did. Everything worked out perfectly fine. The good guys won. The Dimitri guy, who was a nice guy, he won the case, so that's good. Marissa comes back to tax, so that's good. Taylor gets Maurizio full time, so that's good. All of it worked out all hunky-dory, and it's just too easy. And again, some of these stories, mainly Marissa coming back to tack, that's something that should have lasted longer. It should have had more to it. So yeah, this episode, really dumb. This show so far this season has been pretty bland and dull, and I kind of hate it. I kind of hate this season, and I hate the fact that this is the last season because I've had a decent time with this show up until now. And now that we're here, unfortunately, it's going out with a pretty sad whimper. But anyways, that being said, on to the final of these 3 episodes. I'll see you there. And now episode 12, Caliban. More predictability. More stories that could have gone somewhere and just end abruptly. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like a theme this season. There's just this weird feeling of things get brought up and it just sort of falls apart or just disappears out of nowhere, even though I kind of maybe wanted to see a little bit more. And then there are stories where I'm sitting there going, this is completely obvious, and it's apparently not obvious to the characters in the show. The main case in this one, I mean, it's one of those, yeah, you kind of feel bad for the guy, but also you don't feel that bad for him because, as they point out at the end of this episode, he probably should have known something. He probably should have realized something was going on, and he just didn't. So I'm not too surprised with the verdict, and I think it's exactly... I didn't think he was going to get away scot-free, especially after we found out that his dad actually had a talk with him a couple of days before the FBI raided. So it kind of felt like, yeah, he deserves a little bit of punishment, maybe not taking the full blame of what his dad did, but definitely he had some knowledge of it. He's going to be found guilty of something. So I wasn't sure what the crime would be, but sure, that the criminal possession or whatever it is, sure, that works. It's a little slap on the wrist. It's something that the team still wins. They kept him out of prison, but it's not a free win because, yes, he was partially guilty. Then when you look at just everything to do with the details of the case, it kind of makes a lot of them look stupid. Like when they're talking about this whole crypto thing, and I don't like, as soon as we found out about the picture, the fact that nobody went, there's something about this picture. Like, he didn't just give him this for no reason. There's something to do with the money that went missing with this picture, right? So thankfully, Bull, it takes him a little too long, in my opinion. It should have instantly been asking questions about, okay, so what's the significance? What does this have to do with the missing money? Because there's got to be something, right? But Bull does find the little Bitcoin thing. And I'm sorry, but Marissa and Taylor are both idiots. Marissa thankfully did point to the picture and say, you know what? Maybe it has something to do with that. But the fact that that wasn't the first thing that they thought of kind of makes them both look dumb to me. You know, you just got this feeling of the Bitcoin card or whatever, the wallet, it was attached to the picture. The dad made a very serious point about the picture. Clearly, it's something to do with the picture. Now, of course, the dad not really giving him much to go on, just the picture, does sort of leave a lot up to interpretation. And the fact that there's a sign in it that has words that equal 14 letters as well is also a little odd. But it should have instantly been, there's something about this picture that connects to the password. Let's talk to Timothy about it. Let's see if we can get the answer. But no, it was, let's try his name first. I'm sorry. How stupid would he be to have this Bitcoin wallet with $163 million on it and make the password his own name? Anybody's going to think of that. I don't care the reasoning that they gave. The whole, oh, well, he's older and straightforward. Maybe he thinks about things in a very straightforward kind of way. No. Just shut up. Nobody in their right mind. I know there are a lot of jokes about, oh, you made your password. Stupid. I've seen that joke so many times. How many people actually do that? Let's be real. And especially somebody, like they said, he was very careful about hiding his business. He was very meticulous. He would not just, oh, I'm going to make my name the password because nobody will figure that one out. So the fact that that was the first attempt, and it wasn't until the second attempt that they actually looked at the picture. And even then, I'm thinking, well, anybody can look at the picture and see the words written on the picture. If they knew that that's, like, all the police would have to do, hey, this card, it was connected to this picture. There are words in here. Let's try those. So it's probably not going to be that. It's probably going to be something that Timothy would know. Why were we not talking to him and asking him first? It's just so dumb. And it's I blame the characters. It's really the writers writing the characters because they're the ones that made them dumb. They're the ones that made them go, hey, let's not use our brain for these first two attempts. So that way, when we try the third one, there's an element of suspense. And Taylor presses the enter button and it starts spinning as it verifies, is this the correct password? I don't know. It's, I'm very frustrated with that. As far as the Bull and his brother storyline, this one had potential, but again, they cut it off very early on. It was also pretty predictable. As soon as he showed up and we find out he's a con man, all I can think is, okay, so I've seen this story before. I've seen the brother who's a con man show up before, and they always want money because they found themselves in some financial trouble. I said that to myself. Again, there are times whenever I kind of wish that I was not just reviewing these shows, I was reacting to it. I wish I could show my live reactions. So whenever that scene pops up and it's his brother and we find out he's a con man, in that moment, I said, if they're going to go by the book on this one, brother that's a con man, he's coming back because he wants money because he's in financial trouble and he owes some bad people some money. Exactly what I said. No variation on it. No twist on it. Exactly the story that I've seen time and time again. Bull obviously is going to help out his brother because he's a good brother. He's family. It doesn't matter if he's made mistakes in the past. They reconcile. They solve the problem. Story done. I mean, you want to talk about bland and boring and no sense of just any creativity. This might as well have just, honestly, with all of the strikes that happen, I wouldn't be surprised if this was written by AI. The person typed in, can we get a story of conflict with the main character and his brother? And AI just went through its database of all of the the shows in the past and is like, oh, here's a story, and just spat out what I've seen 5 or 6 times at least. This exact story, not just like, oh, I've seen a couple of stories like this. No, I've seen 5 or 6 stories exactly like this with no variation. It is so by the book. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. I know there's every story's been told, blah blah blah. There are no new stories. There's only changes and updates on old stories. I get that whole argument. It doesn't matter. You have to at least have some creativity to it. There was no creativity here. In fact, the whole thing ends with Bull playing blackjack with the guy, which is entirely luck based, and he wins with 21. How? You can't just chalk that up to, well, Bull got lucky. No, you can't do that. That is Deus Ex Machina on a whole nother level. That's the writers going, hey, the guy got 20, but Bull got 21. Why? Why would you do that? Why not just have them play poker and have Bull read the guy? Because the guy may not even know who Bull is. Maybe he doesn't realize Bull's reading him, and he goes in all cocky, and then he loses because Bull reads him, sees his tells, and blah, blah, blah. You could have done that. But to have Bull ask him to hit him twice, and he just so happens to perfectly line up to 21 when the other guy had 20, it doesn't, he's got a high number, I got to keep going. Okay, and if the next card is not the number that puts you on 21, you lose. It doesn't matter that you read that he has a high number card over there. You lose if you go over 21. That's the game. There's no reading. There's no tell for that. And of course he's going to get it though, because the story's got to work out all hunky-dory. It's stupid. It is stupidity on such a high level. And I've not been this pissed off about this show before. I've had my frustrations. I've had my moments where it feels like the moral is beating you over the head and taking precedence over telling a good story. That's stuff that I'm used to, though. That's just the writers feeling like, oh, I want to have purpose. I want to have a reason to be here, so I'm going to write something that speaks to people. And then they think they're telling this real deep moral, blah, 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 and it's stuff that people already know. And I had that argument before. This is bland, it's stupid, it makes no sense, it's full of coincidence, full of stuff that would never happen in real life, and it all works out all okay, and it's boring as hell. This is the type of drab shit that nobody wants to watch. I cannot imagine anybody watching this going, oh, he got 21, go Bull. There's no way anybody watched this. Even the stupidest audience member could not watch this and go, I'm so happy for them right now. I'm so happy that... No, everybody's watching this going, seriously, he got 21. He got exactly 20. Are you kidding me? He left it up to chance and he got 21 and the other guy got... I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my damn mind. Oh, but yeah, so this show has lost me now. Between the last 2 episodes, I'm out. I'm done with this show. And honestly, maybe it's a good thing that it ended when it did, because if we got more of this going forward, this show would have become unwatchable, because it's awful. It is so bad and boring and lazily written. I hope that AI wrote this. I know that sounds weird to say. I shouldn't want AI to take jobs. I don't want AI to take jobs from people. But I hope AI wrote this episode, because if real writers sat down and thought this was good enough, that's a whole nother problem. That's an issue that these writers need to figure out, because, oh my God, this was stupid. This was so dumb. Unless there was something cut where we find out Bull had a trick deck or something, or he had counted the cards beforehand, or he had little marks that he could say, I don't know, something to make that scene make sense. Because if not, then these writers should not be writing. They need to find another line of work, because this is awful. So anyways, with that being said though, now that I've got my little rant done, that's it for these 3 episodes. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these 3 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Bull reviews, and I'll see you guys at the next one. But until then, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you all later. Peace out.